and humility, and that has stayed with me. I will never forget that incident, and I was not to be at that trade show. So there you have it. I actually don't know whether that whole bomb thing was orchestrated by the universe on my behalf so that I would actually get the deeper lessons, which had nothing to do with a trade show. So I traded in something, okay? Arrogance for humility. And I encourage every one of you who have the slightest twinge of arrogance and entitlement, I encourage you to trade it in. You will be so much richer for the trade in, because I think you actually trade up. So the wisdom of the I Ching actually simply tells you what is. It's the readout, if you will, of the depth of the river of your life at any time. So it kind of tells you, don't jump into the river right now. There's no energy. Or this is a great time to jump in. Matter of fact, as I was getting ready for this show, which is, again, it's giving it in advance of March 14th. But as I was getting ready, I thought, well, what is the I Ching of today? What exactly is it telling me? It just interested me. I mean, I don't know, I guess I'm a little kooky. I'm interested in stuff like that. I want to know. And so I found it very humorous because it was a show of progress. It was a moving forward. It was here's one of the lines. Just be very firm and proceed. And if you proceed, it will be gradual and steady and stable. And I thought, well, that's very encouraging because it's sowing seeds for you all. It's gradual, it's steady, it's stable. And we'll do more of the I Ching over the next weeks and months. So it cautioned me, don't give them too much. Be gradual, be steady. So it was I thought it was very profound, and it gave me the go-ahead. Now, I also have to tell you, if it had said something like darkening of the forces, I would not have given an I Ching program at this time. I would have picked something else. Perhaps I would have continued with feng shui and tell you where your success area is or something of that ilk. So then I decided to look forward and see, well, what is March 14th for these dear people? And I thought, isn't this interesting? It's all about the word increasing. So I don't know if one of you or many of you will be able to use this profound well of wisdom to really adjust some of what's going on in your life. So it's the fact that you all can receive great reserves of energy. And with this energy, you can actually be of service to others. Now, that does not mean after a few moments of I Ching today, you will be able to suggest to others that you are an I Ching master. No, but you could tell them, I've begun to look at a book of wisdom. And this book has no judgment. It's got no opinion. It doesn't really care whether you win the war, lose the war. But it does suggest to you, whoa, if you go into the battle at this time, your chances of being killed are good. And that's why in the old days, military generals depended on this almost solely for their advancing and retreating tactics. Royalty depended on this enormously. And the very, very wealthy. So things like the I Ching and feng shui, they were only available to the most elite. And now, when someone like myself so dearly wants to share it with you, take advantage of that sharing. Because there were times in eternity where you couldn't access this and then would make some terrible blunders. The I Ching even tells you things like, wonderful time to get married. Yes, do it. No, it won't say do it. I take that back. It will just say, yep, good time. Then you're on your own. It will also say, ooh, no, this is a time where there could be interference from a mother-in-law. I mean, it will become that specific. But again, don't work. It's not going to tell you do it or don't do it. Wisdom never will tell you do it or don't do it. Wisdom points you towards something. So it doesn't take a stance. It doesn't expect you to take a stance on anything. But it points you back. It points you back to simplicity, and it points you back to your true self. It points you to a platform of wakefulness, and it points you to self-knowing. You know, for ages we have been told, man, know yourself. So it could not get any better. And I want you to write down some. I personally, in my library, some of you have already figured out, I'm rather a bookie. I've got a library that doesn't quit on things that interest me, on things that help evolve my spirit, that pull me a little bit further into or deeper into understanding and knowingness. That's what my library is about. And so when it comes to the I Ching, as I began to really embrace its wisdom, well, now I must have, I'll bet you, perhaps 20 different interpretations, because each translation is slightly different, or the emphasis is slightly different. And when I do an I Ching reading for myself or for someone else, I listen first within myself and actually hear which translations will help me to get to a bigger understanding. So some of the tools that I use, one is called Total I Ching. So it's just the word total, the letter I, and Ching, C-H-I-N-G. And that was brought through by Stephen Karcher, C-A-R-C-H-E-R. That one's pretty, like when the person's asking for like a meat and potatoes kind of answer. That'll give me a meat and potato kind of thing. One of my very favorites is something called Tiger and Dragon I Ching. So it's Tiger and Dragon I Ching. And the gal who brought this forth was Rowena, R-O-W-E-N-A, Patty, P-A-T-T-E-E, and her last name, Kreider, K-R-Y-D-E-R. And this kind of blends the practical with, let me really think about that. Let me really get a little deeper here. And if you could see my book from this gal, it's starred, it's underlined, it's pretty amazing. And as a matter of fact, when I opened for this day and tuned into the hexagram for the day, actually, and this day, should you want to know when we're pre-recording it, this day is February 17th. So the actual hexagram for today is number 35. So here was my message. Progress. What is needed is to discipline yourself to find illumination within and let it emanate to others without deliberation. Effort is needed only in purification processes, not in activities, meaning kind of just let it flow. don't second guess yourself, Elaine. Don't belittle yourself. The big thing is don't second guess. Just be very pure and let it flow, and whoever needs it will get it. And it goes on to say, by realizing the illumination within you and being receptive to daily life situations as they actually are, you will have an effect on people. Strive for nothing but clarity. All else will come by itself. Now, what a fabulous message. It means I don't really have to do much. I just have to let myself go and strive for nothing. And I have a couple of close gal pals up in Jersey, 2 of them, matter of fact. We keep going back and forth with, how do we simply strive for clarity? And it has to do with let go of every belief system you've ever held. Let go of every thought that's programmed in you. Before the show, I had a woman call me, and she started talking about, I'm pretty certain. She kept saying, I'm pretty certain. And I finally said, stop. That's feet in 2 boats. You can't be pretty certain. It's undermining you. You are certain. Drop the pretty. You see, it's that subtle. Like, I'm afraid to be certain. I'm afraid that maybe it's not right. We have to drop our stuff. It's been programmed into us since 2 years old. So look at the age you are now and look at your programming. It's a whole lot of it. So the third book I'm going to recommend it's something called The Complete I Ching. And this is a little more subtle yet. And it's by the Taoist, and that is spelled T. Taoism starts with a T, not a D, but it's pronounced as D. So T for Thomas, Aoist, the Taoist master, Alfred Huang, H is in Harry, U-A-N-G. And this is more for the contemplative, reflective person. So it's something that on days where I'm in that quiet space and have the time, I will carefully see what he's got to say, because it's a whole work on the I Ching and how it fits together. So you can see sometimes it may be fairly simple, so I can just lickety-split, yep, here's what I'm looking for. The next step, a little bit more involved and more involved. So it's as deep as you want to take it. And the thing that really got me going much more deeply in the I Ching was my love of feng shui. And feng shui found me in the late 90s. And because I am a bookie and a contemplative being, I could see the hexagrams and the trigrams in feng shui, and I'm like, this is so familiar. And then, of course, it began to reference the I Ching. And so I went backward. And actually, I married them both at the same time. I married feng shui and I Ching simultaneously. And incidentally, the teachers, I have never had an I Ching teacher. I don't believe there are any in this country. So my learning has come through very patient diligence, through humility, through practice, and through wanting to assist someone else on their journey. And then the whole thing opens up to you. And it's probably why I'm so drawn to many translations. These translators, for me, are my teachers. And finally, whether it be feng shui or the great I Ching, your teacher is deeply embedded